Karoline Leavitt. The rising conservative firebrand and former Trump White House aide turned congressional candidate entered the View studio with calculated composure. At just 27 years old, she had already carved out a reputation for being bold, unrelenting, and completely unapologetic in her political stance. Dressed in a power-red blazer and heels that clicked with every step, she took her seat at the table, surrounded by seasoned co-hosts known for their liberal bent. She was there to promote her congressional campaign and discuss her vision for America. But it quickly became evident that this would not be a soft interview. From the moment Joy Behar opened her mouth with a wry smirk, the conversation pivoted. From policy to personal, from dialogue to confrontation, what began as a standard political segment turned into a live, uncomfortable powder keg of generational tension, ideological warfare, and cultural grenades, with Karoline at the center. Joy Behar didn't waste time. With her trademark sarcasm thinly veiled behind a polite smile, she dove straight into what she called the elephant in the room. Karoline, she said, you're young, ambitious, and, let's just say, aligned with some extremely controversial views. How can you expect anyone to take you seriously when you're defending the indefensible? The crowd gave a nervous chuckle. Karoline's expression didn't flinch. With all due respect, Joy, she replied, what's truly indefensible is the media's obsession with reducing every conservative woman to a stereotype. She spoke clearly, her voice sharp and unwavering. I didn't come here to play defense. I came to talk about the future of this country. Joy wasn't having it. Is the future just repeating the past? Because it sure feels like we've seen the script before, glorified talking points and deflective spin. The temperature rose quickly. Sunny Hostin, trying to find middle ground, interjected with a question about Karoline's stance on the economy. But before she could finish, Joy circled back to Trump. You worked for the man who tried to overturn an election. Do you honestly believe that was democracy at work? Karoline leaned forward, her hands clasped. I believe in questioning institutions that have failed the people, she said firmly. And I believe the media, this show included, has become an echo chamber of fearmongering and misrepresentation. The crowd shifted. Some clapped, others booed. Joy raised an eyebrow. This isn't Newsmax, sweetheart, she said. You don't get to steamroll reality here. Air became electric. Karoline's response was instant. Reality, she repeated. The reality is that millions of Americans are tired of being called extreme for wanting secure borders, parental rights, and economic freedom. You call it controversial. I call it common sense. Whoopi Goldberg looked down at her notes, visibly irritated. Lisa Farah Griffin, usually a moderate conservative voice, remained quiet, watching the fire build. Joy leaned in again. You are parroting the same divisive rhetoric that got this country torn apart. Do you honestly think you're helping anything with this smug attitude and rehearsed rebellion? That was the moment Karoline's smile dropped completely, her eyes locked with Joy's. I'm not here to make you comfortable, Joy. Karoline, said the voice, cold and pointed. You sit here every day, mocking people like me, painting half the country as villains because we don't subscribe to your elitist worldview. The audience erupted, some in cheers, others in shock. You want to talk about division? Maybe start by looking in the mirror, Joy snapped. You're a guest on this show. Show some respect. Karoline shot back, respect is earned, not demanded. And frankly, this panel lost its mind the moment it chose ratings over reason. The room turned still. It felt less like daytime television and more like the climax of a courtroom drama. Producers off camera began whispering. The stage manager signaled the team to cut to commercial, but no one moved. The confrontation had crossed the line, but neither. A woman was backing down. Whoopi finally tried to interject. Okay, we're not doing this, she said, looking directly at Karoline. You came on this show. You made your point. This is not a campaign rally. Karoline, already unhooking her mic, stood up. You're right, it's not a rally. It's a trap dressed up as conversation, and I'm not interested in playing along. She dropped the mic onto the table. The studio audience gasped again. Joy muttered something under her breath, but the cameras couldn't pick it up. Karoline turned her back and walked off set, her heels striking the floor like a gavel slamming down. The internet exploded. Within 20 minutes, #Karoline walks off, #Behar meltdown, and #View showdown were trending nationwide. Conservative influencers praised Leavitt as a warrior unafraid of the liberal mob, while critics accused her of being disrespectful and using the moment for political theater. TikToks replayed the walk-off in slow motion, complete with dramatic music. News outlets aired panel after panel dissecting what happened. Was Karoline out of line? Or had The View finally met its match and a guest unwilling to be cornered? The debate lit up social feeds like wildfire. The next day, Joy addressed the incident briefly on air. "We welcome all kinds of guests here," she said, clearly still fuming. "But when they cross a line, they can show themselves out like she did," Whoopi added. "We ask tough questions. If people can't handle it, that's on them." Sunny offered a slightly more conciliatory tone, saying, "Maybe we all could have kept things more civil." But the tone was defiant. It was no apology, no reflection, just more fuel for the fire. Meanwhile, Karoline tweeted a simple message. "I'll never apologize for standing up to the media machine. The people are watching, and then they're awake." Her campaign donations spiked overnight. Conservative outlets called her a hero. Even some moderates admitted that, whether or not they agreed with her politics, she had shown guts. She didn't flinch. One headline read, "She walked." But beyond the politics, something deeper had shifted. It's a moment that became a microcosm of the national divide. It's an emblem of what happens when two Americas try to talk but instead shout past one another in a televised arena built for spectacle, not solutions. Back at ABC, producers began re-evaluating their approach to booking political guests. Rumors circulated that several prominent figures had suddenly declined invitations. A few insiders whispered about increasing pressure from execs to ease off the ambushes. Meanwhile, Karoline's team capitalized on the moment. Her next rally opened with a clip of her View walk-off playing on a giant screen, followed by thunderous applause. She was no longer just a congressional hopeful. She had become a viral force. And through it all, Joy Behar remained defiant. But many viewers saw in her exchange with Karoline not just a clash of ideology but a generational refusal to understand each other. A television veteran unwilling to make space for a younger, equally forceful voice. Whether Karoline Leavitt had burned bridges or built a movement was still unclear. But one thing was certain. She didn't just walk off the View.